It's Monday, and you know what that means. The Jersey First Television Network proudly brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk. And yes, I am the generational talent in Garden State Media and the sworn enemy of all the local social justice clowns, woke fools, and identity hysterics here in the state of New Jersey. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it is me, Fernando Uribe. Happy Monday. Once again, we appreciate you making this a part of your Monday afternoon viewing here via Jersey First TV. And if you haven't done so already, it takes 5 seconds. Trust me, I've counted it. To like, comment, and share our episode on all of your social media. Make sure you like us on Facebook. Of course, follow us on Instagram and X. And if you haven't done so already, do me a favor. Subscribe to Jersey First on our YouTube channel. And of course, where we get your podcasts, whether it's Spotify or SoundCloud, download the Jersey First station and you'll get all of our premium content right there on your smartphone, PC, Mac, or tablet. And I can't say enough, ladies and gentlemen, what a privilege it is to be here representing Jersey First TV, educating and advocating for the residents here in the great state of New Jersey. Of course, brand new episodes of Real Talk premiere every Monday live. Of course, check your local listings for start times. And also brand new episodes of Bridging the Gap with Zach and Tyler have returned to Jersey First TV. Check us out. And trust me, ladies and gentlemen, you'll never be disappointed with our amazing content because, again, we bring you the interesting guests, the illuminating conversations, and as I say it all the time, once again, for the best analysis and commentary anywhere in New Jersey politics, trust me, people rely on Real Talk with Fernando Uribe here on Jersey First TV. Folks, you want to stick around, a jam-packed show today here, certainly coming up, and I can't say enough about, quite frankly, the usual bad actors here in New Jersey. Yes, I tend to update this collage on a regular basis because there is no shortage of bad actors here in the Garden State, whether it's in media. You see all the time with Alan Steinberg. I know Sleepy Al is sleeping at this time, so he's probably not watching the show live, but he'll watch the replay, don't you worry. And of course, you see others like, useless journalists like Matt Friedman, right, as well as David Cruz and Max Pizarro and Bob Hennelly and Jay Lasser, and of course, all the other useless people in New Jersey, whether it's in higher education, like, for example, the local beta male, soy boy Joe Amaditas from Woke State University over there in Montclair. Of course, all these useless activists in New Jersey, whether it's Amy Torres, whether it's Nettie Morsi, whether it's Hetty Rosenstein, I mean, you name it, folks, Caleb Burrell, or just outright, incompetent elected officials. You see it all the time, like McGonigal MacGyver, which, by the way, I was surprised to hear that she announced her pregnancy. I'm thinking to myself, who in the hell would knock her up? I mean, God, that's just not a visual anybody wants to even look at. But I guess there's somebody for everybody, folks. And of course, we have all the other useless electeds here in New Jersey. We have obviously assembly people like Katie Brennan and Robbie Bala, as well as locally here, we have council people, Joe Quintero and Phil Cohen. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, and I talk about this all the time, one of the more useless people in New Jersey media, as we know, is Chucky. Uncle Chucky, Charles Style, with NordJersey.com and the Bergen Record. And again, folks, this guy doesn't even try to hide how biased he is. But I'm going to tell you the truth about why his latest op-ed is really just garbage, because he really should be even asking a question. He should be making a statement, quite frankly, about where the Democrat Party is today. And also, folks, during a special comment, I do want to thank everybody that came out to celebrate my birthday this weekend, all around Hudson County. And you know what? Still recovering a little bit, but I'm good to go because, again, I'm the generational talent in Garden State Media. Of course, I would be coming to you live every Monday, regardless of anything. So once again, to everybody that came out this past weekend to celebrate my birthday, thank you all. Love you all, to family and friends. And of course, folks, I got all the good-looking people coming to my parties on a regular basis, whether it's my philanthropic events or my birthday parties, folks. All the good-looking women, all the good-looking crowds come to Fernando Uribe parties. Anybody else? Yeah, we're just not the same. So a little special comment later about my birthday weekend, and quite frankly, why I'm so grateful to celebrate yet another year here with all of you. More on that, folks, later in the broadcast. Folks, it is election season, of course, and you know what? Let's talk to one of the more prominent chairs in New Jersey. Obviously, we have Democrat organization chairs all across the state, but we have also a lot of prominent Republican organization chairs. And why not talk to one of the more interesting ones, and a guy that's always up and down working hard to promote, good fiscal policies, smaller government, everything that Abe Lincoln believed in as the father of the Republican Party. Let's talk to my good friend. He is a distinguished chair of the Union County Republican organization, folks. He is Carlos Santos, joins us live on Real Talk. Carlos, welcome.
Hey, Fernando, thank you for inviting me on the show. How are you?
Good to see you. Yes, I'm doing well. Another year older, and still recovering, but doesn't stop me from raising hell online and bringing excellent journalism to everybody every single week here on Jersey First TV. So doing well, man. And obviously, let's sort of get right down to it. It's 2026, and I don't want to relitigate what happened last November, but for all of really early 2026 now, I mean, it seems like these are some tough days to be a Republican here in New Jersey. I had the new chair, Christine Hanlon, on the program a few months ago, just recently, just a few weeks after taking office. And, again, I'm a conservative, as you know. I'm as conservative as they come. I don't apologize for it. But I got to tell you, man, I mean, talk me off the ledge here. I talked to David Wildstein after the election last year. I talked to Brent Johnson. I also talked to Micah Rasmussen really after the election early this year. I mean, I don't want to sound super pessimistic, man, but am I ever going to see a Republican governor in my adult life again? I mean, are we going to see Republicans maybe making some headway here in New Jersey anytime soon, brother?
I think so. I think, usually when things get bad, things change for us. And I think, you've seen that in the presidential election. I think things will get worse before they get better. And I do. I think sooner or later we will. Just got to keep working at it. Can't be discouraged. And it'll happen. I believe so.
Well, what's interesting again here in 2026, I mean, we've, the first 100 days have come and gone for the new governor, Mikey Sherrill. And, this is a woman who last year ran in a very crowded Democrat field. Obviously during that primary, she had some moderate Democrats like, U.S. Representative Josh Gottheimer out of the 5th Congressional District, and of course, former Senate President Steve Sweeney. But then, she was up against some real crazy progressives like Newark Mayor Ross Baraka, also Steve Fulop, former mayor of Jersey City. I mean, it was becoming like this really crazy field. And, you thought, all right, well, she's going to try to move towards the middle. I think that was her strategy to win the nomination, which she did. And, going into last, Labor Day here in New Jersey, Carlos, I mean, we saw each other at events.
Yeah.
I felt good. I was like, Jack had cleaned her clock in both debates. And I said, okay, this is looking, listen, I knew it wasn't going to be easy. Jack Chiarelli lost by only 3 points in 2021. I said, well, listen, this race is going to be close. It could be a 2 or 3 point swing either way. But I thought the race was going to be competitive. And then right around Columbus Day, the federal government had its first shutdown. You saw Democrats both at the state level, well, the national level, obviously, but at the state level, weaponizing all the same bullshit that they love to weaponize. Oh my God, Republicans hate poor people and the SNAP benefits and welfare and illegals don't feel safe in New Jersey and the same bullshit. And what was supposed to be a close race ended up not being one, where Mikey Sherrill cruised to like a 12-point win. And now in 2026, I mean, pretty much 100 days have come and gone, and it's like, oh, we don't like Trump. We're going to sue the federal government. We're going to coddle illegals more than we do already in New Jersey. And, when Memorial Day is coming up, you would think, okay, maybe, put a moratorium on the gas tax, do something to address utility costs. Like an executive order doesn't do anything. I mean, these utility companies are wiping their ass. I mean, that paper isn't worth what it's written on. And it just seems like Mikey Sherrill and the Vote Blue, no matter who crowd, I mean, it's tough to even penetrate their skulls. I mean, they're in such an echo chamber, man. I mean, how do we even approach this, Carlos?
It's crazy. I mean, they don't really have any good policies. All their thing is anti-Trump. And it's crazy because, you're realizing things are being done for the right reason. And I don't know what it's going to take to wake people up to that. But, I think his policies are great. I think he's doing good for the country. And no, actually, not just the country, the entire world. People all over the place are liking it. He's protecting America and making things stronger. So I do think, it's got to be so local. When Cheryl last year, she took the messaging of affordability and stole it from us. With that the whole thing about energy and, the food stamps, like you said, we got to turn that around, Fernando. It's That's our messaging, and we are the party that should be able to bring that back with the right messaging.
No, I agree. And folks, if you're just joining us live right now, it's 5:10 here on the East Coast. And my guest this evening, well, this afternoon, is the distinguished chairman of the Union County Republican Organization, Carlos Santos, joins us here live on Real Talk. Folks, it takes 5 seconds. Trust me. Like, comment, and share on your Facebook, on X, also on your Instagram as well. Just screenshot it, add the links, and voila, there you go. You're supporting the leader in independent media here in New Jersey, Jersey First TV. So let's get to this election season, Carlos. Obviously, all 12 congressional districts are up for grabs. A lot's been made about the 7th congressional district and the incumbent there. We'll get to Tom Kean Jr. in a minute. But obviously, all 12 congressional districts are up for grabs. We have a U.S. Senate seat up for grabs with Spartacus having to defend a record, which, I mean, I don't know what he's going to defend. What, standing for 20 hours and talking shit? I really don't know what he can brag about with his record in the Senate. But obviously, we're looking at 9 incumbent Democrats, 3 Republican seats occupied currently by Representatives Chris Smith and Jeff Van Drew and Tom Kean Jr. I'll be hosting a debate this Wednesday coming up in Burlington County in the 3rd congressional district, which, by the way, folks, it's, of all the Democrats that are vulnerable in New Jersey, it's Herb Conway in CD3. So we'll talk about a little bit of that later. But obviously, congressional districts up for grabs, Senate seats. Obviously, there's the local municipal races, obviously county commissioner races that we see all throughout New Jersey. But, your organization, Carlos, the Union County Republican Organization, has made some endorsements, obviously, in this election season, obviously in some of these congressional districts, and we'll get to that in a moment. But the UCRO has made an endorsement in the U.S. Senate primary here for the Republican Party. A good group of candidates here. I recently interviewed Alex Zidane on this program, trying to get others here. What went into the thought process about your endorsements? I mean, the organization as a whole, it's not just you. I mean, you're collectively talking about this and discussing it with committee people. But what was the thought process going into the endorsements that your organization made in recent weeks? Take us through that.
So we had put out a letter of intent for any candidate that wanted to run. We received one on time. And, we went to our convention with the candidate from our county, Richard Tabor, who's been very active in our organization from Elizabeth, very in the inner cities, helps us a lot in there, building our party and growing. Came to the convention, got overwhelming support out of the convention. Since then, he's been involved, so we knew what he's about here. So that's why, he was the one that filed on time with the process and was awarded the endorsement here. We had other candidates file, but unfortunately, a couple of them were late, a couple of days late, and 1 or 2 or a week after the deadline that we had advertised for over a month. But I think as far as his message goes, he's worked the inner cities. He's Army vet, National Guard, law enforcement. He's got a nonprofit that does well within the inner city kids, underserved children, takes them to camp, takes them away to different things. I know Brighton brings kids to high school, different colleges around the state. They send kids to the camps. So for me, it's about people that are going to serve the public. And the guy's been doing that his entire life. He's right from 18 through military, law enforcement, checked all the boxes, works with the community. And to me, politics is about your community. So this guy's been doing it. And I think, we felt he was the best candidate.
Okay, now we know that on a statewide level, I know the NJGOP does not endorse candidates during the primary season, but obviously it's not unheard of for county chapters to do that. What's been the feedback from other county chairs? I'm sure you talked to Hudson here with Bergen as well, nearby in Essex. Obviously all 21 counties have county chairs, both for the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. But for the Republican chairs specifically, what's been the consensus you're hearing, specifically in the Senate race? Obviously, it's a little bit of a crowded field. We have former Army vet, Justin Murphy. We also have former journalist Alex Zidane, obviously, as you mentioned, right? Richard DeBoer, former Army vet as well. It's a bit of a crowded field. And again, I had the chance to meet him back in February when I was asked to be a speaker. And a shout out to the Middlesex County Republican Women's Club. I mean, what a great group of ladies down there in Middlesex County. Whenever I can leave Hudson County and go see some trees and grass down there in Middlesex County, I'm like, you know what? That's a nice drive today on a Saturday. So I was fortunate enough to see you there and obviously and others and speak coincidentally on Reagan Day during the Reagan Day brunch. And I don't think we talk enough about how great the 40th president was. Certainly, at least, I was a small kid when he was in office. But, you read enough biographies, you watch enough YouTube, you realize, what a great president, in my opinion, Ronald Reagan was. But certainly during that time, we saw that Reagan Day brunch include a lot of candidates, as as I just alluded to, not just for the Senate seats, but also in House races. I think before we went on the air, we were talking about the other endorsements that the UCRO have engaged in. Obviously, I talked to congressional candidate Greg Mealy a few months back here on the show, as well as other House candidates that are, pursuing the primary coming up on June 2nd. As I just alluded to, I'll be moderating a debate in person this Wednesday in Burlington County in Medford all the way. Oh, that's a long hike for me from Hudson County.
It is.
But great venue, Braddock's in Medford, New Jersey. Folks, again, we'll talk more about that later. But when it comes to the House races, Carlos, again, what went into the thought process with you and the committee people in Union County? Because obviously, these are congressional districts that kind of stretch out through different parts of Union County, right? It's not just like, one county specifically, or one congressional district goes through Union County. I mean, there's multiple ones here, right? So tell us about who the UCRO is endorsing in these House races.
So in CD7, Tom Kane, CD12, Greg Mealy, CD10 was Carmen Bucco, and CD8, there was no candidate put forward, but we're trying to get somebody in there as well. So as far as Greg's been around, involved very much in the county. I know he's been around with the other counties as well, goes to all the different events. Carmen's been knocking it down in CD10, really working in the neighborhood, different neighborhoods throughout the different counties. And they stepped forward and they wanted to run, and they're running, and we endorsed them. So
yeah, I mean, listen, certainly great candidates there. I met Carmen, I believe, at other events over time. Yeah. And listen, I think being a Republican in New Jersey, especially in this climate where it seems like, the Democrat Party at a national level, and even, again, their accomplices, the establishment media, not just nationally, but here in New Jersey, what's left of them, have been very complicit in propping up this climate of like, well, the president's not doing well with polling, which is somewhat true. It depends on the issue specifically. Yeah. But we have seen interest rates go down. We have seen the cost of groceries go down. That's true. If you look like David Cruz, maybe, that's not true. I mean, there isn't enough food for people like that. But the reality is that, yes, we are right now involved in a conflict that I think we could avoid being in Iran. But I mean, we understand the premise there. We've also seen what's going on with Venezuela, ultimately, and hopefully Cuba. So a lot on the plate of this administration. But it seems that, House Democrats are embracing, in some cases, like crazy left positions. I mean, I'll be talking about the Democrat primary in CD12. I mean, we pretty much have a professional candidate here, not even caring to distance themselves from a jihadist.
I know.
Down in CD12. I mean, it's crazy to me to think that you even associate with potential terrorists, and that's okay. And like somehow nobody in the establishment media is calling this out. I mean, an editorial maybe, which I'll get to. But it's crazy. So in these House races, it's just so convoluted because Republicans are kind of, having to climb uphill a little bit. We've seen the news recently, right, about Tom Kane Jr. in the 7th Congressional District. Yes. And again, my thoughts and prayers are with the representative. It seems that he's recovering from an illness. He won't be stepping down, but the prognosis looks good for the representative. What are you hearing about his surrogates and everything about, ultimately Tom being able to, run during, obviously he's not being challenged in the primary, But what are you hearing about the potential for him to really get on the campaign trail, maybe during the summer when he recovers?
I'm hearing he's going to be back, make a full recovery, and be able to get out there and run a full campaign. I mean, he's raising money still. He's still doing things, and from what I've been told, Tom's going to be back on the campaign trail, working hard and winning the election again. So that's what I've been told, and I believe so.
So let's sort of break this down, Carlos. I mean, your background, obviously. What was your epiphany? At some point in your life, you had to have an epiphany about why you were, looking to embrace the Republican Party. Obviously, no coincidence. You have a portrait of the father of the GOP, obviously Abraham Lincoln. I would argue one of our greatest American presidents ever. But at what age really did you start gravitating towards the Republican Party, and what specific policies or narratives did you embrace at an early age that consequently, as you transcended into adulthood, that you were able to still retain?
So I was a union iron worker for 20 years. I fell and shattered 4 vertebrae in my back. Was sitting around and started realizing, things aren't what they really are cracked up because I had more time on my hand. Prior to that, I never really cared about politics. Just got up, went and did my job every day. I was running around doing Trump parades in the beginning when everybody else was doing it after I had gotten hurt and was recovered a little bit. And a good friend of mine from town said, "Hey, Carlos, you want to get involved, do something more productive? Why don't you join the local committee?" And I said, "All right, well, explain it to me. And I was all in. And I'm like, well, there's somebody in my district. So, the old chair from the town told me the guy's older, hasn't been involved that much. Why don't you go knock on his door and see if he'd resign? So I did that, knocked on the guy's door. I asked him, introduced myself, asked him if he would resign. He was like, absolutely. I got involved on the local committee, and then I was asked to run for county commissioner that year, which was an uphill battle in Union County for a long time. We haven't had commissioners since 1996. They put me on the ticket that year, and I got basically no support out of the organization. And I was like, you know what? That can't happen. And then I started realizing Elizabeth and Linden and Rahway and Union, all the big cities, they let go for a very long time. So I started building committee members, try and get more people involved in the party. I was asked the following year again to run for commissioner. I did. Same thing as the year before. And then I said, never again will that happen to the candidates. I'm here. I support my candidates. I work hard for them. Help them raise money, help them do events. Every aspect I'm involved helping. And at that point, I decided it was time to make a run for chair after growing the committees. And here I am as county chair. And, some people will say, "Hey, Carlos, what are you doing outside the county here and there?" But I always tell them, when you go outside and you different places and you're working around the state and meeting different people, it's all resources you're bringing back to the county. Like you, Fernando, I wouldn't have known you if I stayed just in Union County. You got to travel and you got to go show the love everywhere else, and people will come back, and it works off. It pays off.
Absolutely. Listen, again, you have to be able to sort of leave your comfort zone. And, I go, as I go all across the state. I get invited to events. I'm asked to speak at events, all the way from, Upper Bergen County to all the way down in Cape May. I mean, I'm everywhere, and I'm happy to do that, especially in a climate like New Jersey where the establishment media really is dying out, as we see, and quite frankly, there's still a lot of left-wing journalists that are working, whether it's at Political New Jersey, whether it's at news sites like NJ.com, NorthJersey.com, via the Bergen Record, or NJ.com via the Star Ledger online. And, it's frustrating to me, Carlos, because I look at New Jersey, and yes, it's been a reliably blue state for some years now, maybe decades, right? During the presidential cycle, obviously in 2024, Donald Trump came within really 4.5 points of winning New Jersey's 14 electoral votes. Now, that hasn't happened. And for everybody at home, as you know, I'm a history buff, and obviously as a former instructor about American history in higher education, you would not have seen a Republican win New Jersey during a presidential cycle since George H.W. Bush in 1988. So it's been that long. And Democrats seems really to have a stranglehold here in New Jersey for some time. So it's not as, I mean, there are pockets of the state, Carlos, as you know, that are not reliably blue. Unfortunately, where I live in Hudson County, I mean, it's as blue as Windex, unfortunately. But, throughout all the other 20 counties, I mean, there are pockets and shades of red.
Yeah.
Certainly, for example, Union County, it's a very socioeconomic, very diverse socioeconomic atmosphere. I mean, you have great towns like Cranford and Short Hills and Summit, and then you have, again, no offense to anyone, Elizabeth and yikes, Rahway, when I drive on Route 1, I'm like, when I'm driving, I'm speeding on Tunnel Avenue. I'm like, on Route 1, I'm like, I don't care. The cop stops me. I'm like, officer, listen, I'm sorry. I'm driving through Rahway. I'm driving through Elizabeth. I'm going to speed. I'm sorry. Like, I'll be like, putting the, seguro la puerta, so I'm like, but in all seriousness, it's a very diverse county. What are you hearing in your capacity as chair when it comes to, hey, there are some pockets that are red reliably, and there are Republicans and conservatives, but again, like a lot of other counties in New Jersey, the urban areas tend to be very reliably blue, and sometimes you wonder why. I mean, it seems like the vote blue no matter who crowd are not getting a return on investment. Like, again, take your pick: Trenton, New Brunswick, Newark, Jersey City, Camden. I mean, it's shitholes, and it's like, really, like, you're not learning your lesson. Like, what's it going to take? I don't understand sometimes.
I think, Fernando, a lot of it was neglect on our parts over the years. We've let it become a Democrat stronghold. When I first got involved, Elizabeth had nothing, no committee for 10 plus years. We're over 100 members. Showing up and being involved in the community, more and more people are getting involved. We've been able to grow our committee there. And, like last year, we went into Elizabeth and we were able to register almost 2,000 new Republicans that we were able to switch. I think it was closer to like 1,700, but you got to put the work in. You got to be present in the community. And that's what we're doing. People hearing the message from us and is one thing, but showing up and being involved in everyday different things. People's got to see you to know who you are, what's going on, and that you're not only there asking for votes. You have to be around more often than that. So, I think if we continue to do that, we'll do a lot better in the urban areas throughout the state. It's about being present and being there.
Now, it's my understanding, and getting back to the election cycle here, it's my understanding that the New Jersey Globe, led by its editor, David Wildstein, along with Micah Rasmussen, who is the director of the Rebovig Institute of New Jersey Politics at Rider University, they'll be hosting a debate coming up, I believe, on campus on May 27th, which is, I mean, it's kind of, as they say, it's really cutting it close. It's about maybe 4 days out from primary day. Yeah. After I was trying to organize, I mean, just organizing this debate I'm hosting on Wednesday was work. I mean, it's, my goodness, that's on a much smaller scale. So I can't even imagine the work that David Wildstein and the New Jersey Globe have to go through. I mean, it's just crazy. But obviously, that debate coming up on May 27th, I think a Thursday night, should be interesting between the Senate candidates. Now, again, I don't know who's going to be on stage. I know that David Wildstein is very specific about the candidates. Like, you have to be raising money. You have to get some endorsements. And that's some of the problems I think I've been coming across, Carlos, let's say with the debate I'm doing, where I'm getting flack from people like, well, there are people on the ballot and you're not including them, et cetera, et cetera. And, I hear that. And my response, Carlos, is like, listen, I need serious candidates here. If you're raising money, you have a social media presence. I mean, for God's sakes, if you haven't opened an ELEC account with a month to go, like, I'm sorry, like, I'm not just going to give you a stage to talk on because you feel entitled to it. No, I'm sorry. Like, listen, getting on the ballot is hard. Getting signatures is hard. I remember going back to the Middlesex County Republican Women's Club Reagan Day brunch. I mean, I saw candidates walking around trying to get signatures. I get it. It's work. No question. But I need serious candidates. And I know that coming up on Thursday, I don't know what the lineup is going to be on the 27th of May.
It's the 28th, just so you know.
28th. I'm sorry. My bad. I'm sorry. So, yeah, it's even closer to June 2nd, as I said. What are you hearing right now about that debate and being really so close to primary day? Because obviously, I'm sure people already started voting by mail. things of that nature, maybe early voting, I believe. Maybe it starts that weekend. And
Right.
sometimes people are already convinced in their minds about who they're going to vote for. Do you see this debate making, a considerable impact in undecided voters in Union County?
To be honest with you, I don't. The insiders are the ones that are watching the debates anyway, and that have been involved. It's not live; it's on a Zoom debate, and it's a couple days before the election. I appreciate them doing it, but people have made up their minds. They've seen what's going on, whether they've heard from candidates or not. And it's not being streamed on all the different local TV channels or any of the stuff like that. Even in the governor's race, a lot of people didn't even know there was a debate that happened, and there was multiple.
Sure.
It's all us political junkies that know, hey, the New Jersey Globe, we're having a debate. So we're the ones going to be watching it. I don't think your everyday voters even see it, to be honest with you.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. And again, thank you for correcting me. I wasn't aware it's on Zoom. I thought it was maybe live in person. But the bottom line is obviously, if anyone can organize a debate on short notice and really get attention, it's my good friend David Wassing.
Yes.
And other good people at the New Jersey Globe over there. Zach and Joey, and again, the great staff they have there, along with, Micah Rasmussen from the Repovic Institute. Now, if your candidate doesn't win coming up on Tuesday, June 2nd, will you endorse ultimately who the nominee is, Carlos, even if it's not, Rich DeBoer?
Yeah, I'll support whatever candidate wins.
Okay. Do you anticipate right now? Again, I don't have any numbers. Obviously, I'm assuming people will start voting early, probably by this week. I'm assuming mail-in ballots already went out.
Yeah.
And I know that as a conservative and a Republican, I'm always concerned about mail-in voting. I sometimes am deeply concerned about voter fraud, which exists, and State Democrat Party Chair Leroy Jones will tell you otherwise, but we see it. I'm always concerned.
Yes.
But we have to embrace it as Republicans because, let's be honest, in 2024, that's why you saw a margin as close as it was, not just in New Jersey, that's a reliably blue state, but other parts where, Donald Trump could have won New Mexico. He almost could have won New Jersey, right? These are states that Republicans obviously learned to openly embrace mail-in ballots. But when we're looking at this right now, again, the UCRO has endorsed, Richard DeBoer, and see him as the best candidate. Not to be overly analytical, but what's there to dislike about the other candidates in the field?
There really isn't. I've never had a problem with any of them. I get along with the other candidates. Personally, and the organization that has endorsed Rich just feels like he's the strongest to go against Cory Booker. I think it's an uphill battle regardless, but we need somebody who's going to take the fight to him, and I think Rich would be the guy to do that. I've talked to the doctor quite often. I talked to Justin. Alex, I haven't spoken to, but we've been friends in the past, and we have talked. So I think, but personally, I feel Rich can go in the inner cities like he has. He's worked the community. People know him. At the end of the day, it's about winning, and I think he's got the best message, and he's genuine. And he can go into Elizabeth and flip voters that'll vote for him. Republicans, Democrats, and unaffiliated voters up and down the ticket. The guy's genuine, and I think people are seeing the genuineness out of him, and that's why he's winning conventions. He won conventions in Atlantic, Somerset, Middlesex, Ocean, Union, Hudson, Hunterdon. Different counties had told me they weren't expecting him to win, and they walked in and he blew it out of the water, and they were shocked. So I think the genuineness of it is what's really carrying him.
And what's interesting, certainly, Cory Booker has a good war chest in front of him. I think over $20 million that I'm sure he'll be using some of it. Let's be honest. He'd like to save that for what is ultimately inevitable, Carlos, and that's he wants to run for president in 2028. He wants to try again. We all saw what a failed and miserable effort it was in 2020 for him. It was embarrassing. I think it's fair to say that right now in his grave, Woodrow Wilson, the former governor and the only New Jerseyan to ever be elected to the presidency, I think he'll be fine. I think he's in his grave thinking like, oh, I'm going to be the only New Jerseyan to ever win the presidency.
Yeah.
I don't think that's. I don't think that's in doubt. Let's not get it twisted. Don't think that Governor Cheryl isn't also trying to like flex her political muscles in New Jersey and then also on the national level by, hey, I'm the one taking it to Trump and all that bullshit. That, like, again, does that lower my property taxes? Does that lower utility costs? No. Like, I get it for her crowd and all her her sycophants that support her. Sure, yeah. Oh, I hate Trump. Cool. How's that working out for you? Paying off your property taxes, which are the highest in the country. How's that working out for you with the fourth highest gas tax in the country? And I get that gas is high, but even when gas wasn't high, and by the way, just for her supporters and those in the Democrat Party, Carlos, I mean, I seem to remember, again, I'm old enough to remember back in 2021 and 2022 into 2023, quote, oh, well, hey, you should be okay with gas prices, and because we got to support Ukraine, and we got to believe in democracy, and hey, you should be able to suck it up because the pain is temporary, because the long term is making sure that we support Ukraine, folks. I don't mind saying this. I like Ukrainian women. I don't give a shit about Ukraine. I care about us. Okay, I mean, I don't care. Okay, but where's that energy now? Where it's like Democrats and the left are like, well, this is unacceptable, and what business do we have in Iran? What business do we have in Ukraine? Well, it seems like Democrats have a short. And one of those leading the way is U.S. Senator Cory Booker. He's the first one to bloviate about Ukraine, and the typical bullshit, right? He'd wear the lapel pin, he'd wear like the handkerchief in the jacket. La misma basura, la misma mierda. Okay? Oh, and now it's about, well, this is a non-constitutional war, and the president is a fascist. Like the same bullshit, but I would argue in a regular cycle, someone like Cory Booker should be vulnerable. He's been terrible. Like, I can't name one bill he's even introduced on the Senate floor, Carlos. That, I mean, listen, renaming a post office after somebody, that's not work. Like, I'm sorry, it's not actual work on your Senate record. But where do you think, whoever the nominee is here in New Jersey, where do you think Cory Booker is most vulnerable?
I mean, 13 years of doing nothing. And you're in that role, you haven't put a single bill forward that got passed. I think, we were part of helping getting signatures for Rich, and people are fed up with him. You didn't even have to say who you are or nothing. You go through your whole spiel. Rich was doing that. And then as soon as he got to the end of the part where he's like, oh, I'm running against Cory Booker, people were like, give me that petition. You should have started with that. You didn't even have to go the whole way. You didn't have to tell me all that information. Just, people who can't stand him, they want him out, from what I'm hearing, on the streets when we're out there canvassing and doing stuff. People just are fed up with him and that he's done nothing. There's so many big issues. Look at what he did in Newark all the years, like he's done nothing for the people there.
I mean, listen, Ross Baraka is following the same blueprint, and somehow this guy got reelected. I mean, it boggles my mind about how clueless people. And again, I don't ever like to use the word stupid or ignorant, but I'll use words like misinformed or uninformed or just like sheep. Like in what world? Again, and I'm a comic book fan, so for everybody at home that knows how much I love Marvel movies, like yes, there are alternate realities, right? Like different versions of Earth where, okay, like what version of Earth exists that somehow people think that Cory Booker's a good representative in Washington, like, and then he thinks, listen, I mean, getting married, you're not fooling anybody, Cory. I mean, on the record, hush, hush, you're not fooling anybody get married. But the point is that it just seems that this election cycle is ripe for Republicans to, maybe get the message out. And obviously we've seen what's happened nationally. We've seen with redistricting arguments, even here in New Jersey. I mean, right now there are 12 congressional districts. 9 are occupied by Democrats, 3 by Republicans. But Carlos, if you look at the data, and I know that Governor Cheryl and even, Senate President Nick Scutari was talking about, we might revisit what this gerrymandering, could be in New Jersey. I've never understood this because at the end of the day, when you look at the turnout, right, again, if you're going by presidential data in 2024, Kamala Harris won the state, sure, but it wasn't like how Democrats have won New Jersey in previous cycles, like, 80-20 or 70-30. Like there's almost like a 55% to 45%, disparity when it comes to, voter turnout.
Right.
Somehow, if you want to be fair about gerrymandering and you want to be intellectually honest, you could almost make the case that the map in New Jersey, which will still favor Dems because of the registrations and everything else, I would argue that if we're being fair and we're actually producing a fair map, it really would be like 7-5 Democrats, right?
Yeah, it's like I said in the beginning, Fernando, Trump got that close to winning the state with spending very little or no money at all, but it had a lot to do with things getting bad under Biden, and I think if like you asked me about the governor in the beginning, I think if things continue to get worse, I think it'll switch around, and I think that's what it is. So,
and we'll find out, because again, it just seems like she's more concerned about her national appeal and profile, where maybe in her mind she could be someone's vice presidential nominee, right? I mean, listen, the level of ambition here is considerable.
Yeah,
that's fine. I mean, I don't kill anybody for being ambitious. I'm ambitious, but have some awareness.
Yes.
Like people like Cory Booker, like there's nothing remotely politically attractive about Cory Booker. Like there is nothing that you can run. Listen, I don't like Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, and he's turned that state into an absolute shithole. But again, there's a record. Okay, there's a record. You can debate and dissect what you don't like about policies.
Right.
Coming up next door in Pennsylvania, obviously Josh Shapiro is running for re-election this year. We're going to find out who his challenger is, and we'll see if he wins re-election, right? I mean, obviously he has to stand by some policies. I mean, they're governors, right? But when you see people in the federal legislature running for president, whether it be Cory Booker as a senator, potentially, I mean, God help me, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez over there in New York. Certainly Kamala Harris has been talking about running for president again. Dios mío, imagine that drunk, wasting another $1 billion like she did 2 years ago, right? Yeah. But it just seems, I think it's still a climate where Republicans can still run on some good messaging. And again, if the economy picks up a little bit more, if we're seeing, international conflicts being resolved like Venezuela, also maybe potentially Cuba, I mean, just imagine the first Hispanic president could literally be Cuban. And for me, that brags about being Cuban to every other Hispanic that I know, I mean, imagine just, the dislike that you're going to get from I'm going to love it. But first things first, I think there's a better bench on the national level for Republicans than there is for the Democrat Party. Is that fair to say?
I do. I think we have a way better bench. You got Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance. I think there's a great bench that we have going forward. Way better than their bench.
Yeah, without a doubt, no question. Folks, again, if you just joined us live, it is 5:45 here on the East Coast, and I'm about to wrap up here with Union County Republican Organization Chair Carlos Santos here on the program. Carlos, again, I appreciate you coming on here. Quick lightning round that I like to do with my guests. We've talked to Carlos Santos, the professional, the distinguished chair of the Union County Republican Organization, but let's talk to Carlos Santos, the guy. So quick lightning round here. We'll get to know Carlos, and we'll start now. Favorite baseball team?
Yankees.
Big Yankee fan here as well. So disappointed. I mean, I was there Friday night at Citi Field to see the Yankees win, but my God, a typical Yankees choking away a potential win yesterday and also Saturday. I mean, this is just a bad ball team, baseball club. I don't care how you slice it.
Yeah.
Aaron Boone is an atrocious manager. How do you feel about the Yankees the rest of the way?
I don't know. They're my favorite team around. I'm not a huge sports fan. Unfortunately, politics have consumed my life a little bit. Between that and my children, but
sure.
They're my local team. I've liked them in a long time. That's who I support.
Okay. NFL team you follow at all? You cheer for?
Giants. Just local teams.
Okay. How do you feel about the Giants? Interesting offseason, good draft, new coach, maybe a lot of expectations, but opening night against my Dallas Cowboys, Sunday night NBC. I mean, you want to talk about a test right out of the gate. I mean, I would argue it's week one.
Yeah. I mean, we got to see what happens. It's week one, right, Fernando?
Yep. Yeah. Listen, everyone's 0-0. And if there's a week to come to MetLife, that penitentiary looking building over there on Route 3 in East Rutherford, that's the day to try to get a win on the road, right?
Absolutely.
Now, again, you're a dad. Not sure if this is relevant in the Santos household, but DC or Marvel movie fans?
Not. I mean, I don't know. My kids really like the DC. My wife's into the Marvel stuff, so
Okay.
me, I don't really watch TV that often.
Okay. Understood. Okay. Favorite American president and why?
Trump. Favorite American president. Best president of my lifetime, that I can remember. I'm 47, so prior to that, I was a little young and not really involved. But I think what his policies, what he's doing, trying to bring things forward for the country, bring us back to where we should be. I think it's a huge thing, and that's why I support him.
Okay. My favorite American president is the guy right behind you, Abraham Lincoln. So plenty to love about Abraham. Certainly guiding this country through a very dark time. Courageous, bold. Tragedy, obviously, of how his life came to an end. But without question, Abraham Lincoln continues to this day to endure as a powerful political figure for our politics. Whether you're a Republican or Democrat, I mean, it's hard to argue and debate how great Abraham Lincoln is. Least favorite American president?
Obama.
Okay, why?
I don't know. He just, seemed like the genuine guy, that was out there. But when you really dug into it, he was really just scripted, portrayed himself one way and totally opposite.
Okay. I would argue, listen, I feel the same way about Obama. I was not a fan of Barack Obama at all. I thought he was very disingenuous. To your point, scripted, right? Yes. What us Cubans like to say, bastante falso. Looked great, clean cut, spoke well, checked off all the boxes for the identity hysterics, right? About race and this and that. And,
yes.
And let's be honest, the 8 years of Barack Obama were a disaster. I mean, there's nothing, if you're intellectually honest, there's nothing to brag about when it comes to Barack Obama. And I think I'll even add, an appendix to my pick. I mean, we had to live through 4 years of Joe Biden, and we're starting to learn obviously what happened in 2020. Somehow Joe Biden got 81 million votes, but his vice president running 4 years later couldn't even amount to that number. So it makes you wonder, right? So I think we needed 4 years of the ineptitude of Joe Biden, who was sleepy all the time. And basically, I think we've coming to learn that it wasn't really him governing. It was like a staff there in the White House. And, I think we needed to live through the disaster of Joe Biden to get Donald Trump back. I mean, to say that. We'll see what happens in 2028, certainly, because after 8 years of Donald Trump, essentially, will the American people look to switch gears and go with like the woke bullshit, far left policies, or maybe stick with someone who's, again, on the national level or international level, someone who's very poised, very presentable, like Marco Rubio? We'll find out. We'll see. Carlos, again, I really want to thank you for your time. You're a wealth of information. I really appreciate you being a fan of this brand of independent journalism here with Jersey First TV. What events you got coming up with the Union County Republican Organization coming up now as the summer is right around the corner?
So June 8th, we have our annual golf outing at Suburban Golf Course in Union, private club. It's a good time out. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, full day of golf. So that's one of them. We're going to have a barbecue in the middle of June as well. And in the meantime, Fernando, I have a question for you. And I think I know the answer, but next president, if it's a Republican, let me hear where your pick is.
Oh, without question. It's going to be Marco Rubio.
Okay, that's what I figured. But
and the reason I say that to people all the time, both my Republican and Democrat friends, is we're going to find out what happens with Venezuela in the next 2 years, right? Certainly great to get Nicolas Maduro out. He's a criminal. He's a war criminal. This is a guy who literally destroyed a vibrant economy in South America and Venezuela. Obviously, his predecessor, Hugo Chavez, was no better than he was. It's good to see Maduro being taken away in handcuffs. I love to see that with Raul Castro and Canel in Cuba. We'll find out. But I think it's hard to argue that if we make progress in Venezuela and also in Cuba,
Yeah.
listen, I think it's the Hispanic vote for Marco Rubio would be, and again, nothing against the vice president. I like JD Vance.
Yeah.
I like when Donald Trump made that pick in the summer of 2024. I think JD Vance, there's a lot to like about him. Very well polished, very articulate, educated. I don't care what the establishment media or the left says about JD Vance. I mean, this is a guy who is very much everything that Trump isn't, in the sense. And I think that's a healthy balance for the ticket. But I think it's hard to argue that, you look at someone like Marco Rubio and, you want to appeal to independents, maybe some Democrats that are concerned about the direction of the Democrat Party. I mean, listen, you look at Marco Rubio, nice, clean cut, white Hispanic. That's going to resonate with people. And let's be honest, if he's on a debate stage with someone like Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom or AOC, él se la va a comer. Él se lo come. He's going to annihilate these people in a debate. Now, again, they might argue, well, you were the Secretary of State for a corrupt regime and all the other bullshit that we're going to hear. Folks, Marco Rubio on a podium. It's no coincidence that we're seeing Marco Rubio at the White House as the Secretary of State at the podium, Carlos. That's not by coincidence, brother.
Yeah, I agree. So
we'll definitely see. Again, what other? I know you mentioned the golf outing. What other events can we look forward to in the summer and maybe into the fall coming up here?
We'll probably have a couple of different events. We'll have obviously a barbecue throughout the summer. In the fall, we'll probably do. Actually, in the summer, we're going to do a 250th year event for the celebration in July, and then in the fall, we'll probably have a couple different fundraising events and get ready for the campaigns. I mean, to win some elections.
All right. Well, again, I appreciate your time. And just real quick, any links, social media URLs for everyone that's looking to get involved with the Union County Republican Organization? All the interesting information, the social media.
Union County GOP on Facebook, and our website is unioncounty.gop.org. All
right. Well, again, Carlos, I appreciate your time today. Whenever you can, please, especially on X, because right now it seems like it's a pain, but make sure you share the episode tonight. Also on Facebook, I'll be uploading the full version, the unedited version of the episode. So I'll shoot you a message tomorrow to please share it on the Union County GOP page, the committee people. And I really appreciate your time here in supporting fearless independent media here with Jersey First TV. I'll give you the last word tonight, Carlos.
Happy birthday, Fernando.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for inviting me on the show. Always a pleasure to be here.
I appreciate your time. And again, folks, he is the distinguished chairman of the Union County Republican Organization. He is Carlos Santos, here live on Real Talk. Carlos, happy Father's Day coming up, I know in June. But even before that, happy Memorial Day coming up. Please stay safe out there. Keep up the great work you're doing in Union County. And we appreciate you supporting Jersey First TV. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, good stuff there with Carlos Santos, the chairman of the Union County Republican Organization. And folks, if you're just catching the show live right now, maybe before as you're heating up dinner, coming back from a walk with your dog on this beautiful, almost summer day here in late May. Again, we appreciate you making this a part of your Monday night viewing. Again, like, comment, and share. It helps the show grow and show your support for fearless independent journalism. And again, folks, this is the originator. Don't fall for the imitators. Don't fall for all these little Mickey Mouse journalists with the little Mickey Mouse traffic and their Mickey Mouse shows. Folks, there's nothing Mickey Mouse here. It's real conversations with real traffic because it's real talk. Know the difference, folks. Okay? Folks, it is 5:55 here on the East Coast. We appreciate you tuning in here today. As always, I appreciate you making this a part of your Monday afternoon, and in some instances, Monday night viewing. Well, you know what time it is? It's time for Final Thoughts. And folks, I discuss this regularly. There's no shortage of bad actors in New Jersey. And I update this collage on a regular basis because there is no shortage of basura in New Jersey, whether it's in higher education, whether it's in activism, whether it's in journalism, whether it's elected officials. Okay? They don't know how to conduct themselves and just offer really garbage takes. And take your pick, folks. You have those in higher education like the beta male, Joe Amaditas from Woke State University over there in Montclair. Okay. There are other useless activists like Antoinette Miles with the New Jersey Working Families Party. Okay. Or Amy Torres with the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice. Or Eddie Morrissey will make the road New Jersey. Or Hetty Rosenstein with their awful takes and just encouraging and supporting just god-awful policies here in New Jersey. Or just atrocious journalists like Alan Steinberg and Tom Moran, who, you know, somehow still trying to be relevant, but let's be honest, no one cares about Tom Moran. Or other useless journalists, you know, those soy boys like Maddie Friedman, who, let's be honest, folks, I mean, the only pussy in the house can really stand to be near him are like 9 cats. Okay. Would you blame his wife if she decided to like work overtime at the bookstore? I mean, I wouldn't want to be home looking at this guy either. Okay. Or other useless women in New Jersey, you know, Jay Lasser with Insider NJ. Or other useless activists like Patty Campos Medina. And other useless women like, you know, Bob Medina. Okay. We see it with elected officials like Ravi Bala and Katie Brennan in the state assembly. Okay. Or Phil Cohen and Joe Quintero on the Hoboken City Council. Or even LaMonica MacGyver in the 10th Congressional District. Okay. I mean, folks, when I heard the news that she announced her pregnancy this weekend, I'm thinking to myself, who in God's name wants to knock her up? Can you explain that to me? What poor bastard couldn't pull out in time and now is going to be stuck with a baby with this woman? I mean, it's just, you know, kind of makes you wonder. But when we think about useless in New Jersey, especially in the establishment media, again, take your pick, folks. We have Max Pizarro. We have those trying to be independent media like Uncle Dave, David Cruz, and no one's buying it. Okay. But when I think about really useless journalists in New Jersey, ladies and gentlemen, I think about Charles Style, you know, Chucky, who writes for the Bergen Record and NorthJersey.com. And one of the reasons I don't like, and mind you, full disclosure, I remember interviewing Chucky some years ago on another podcast I used to host with Insider NJ, Politically Direct. And at the time, I mean, Chucky seemed reasonable. He wasn't the partisan hack that you see today. Okay. And for a guy that I think is rich when he talks about Republicans or conservatives and whether or not they clutch their pearls. Folks, does anyone clutch their pearls more than someone who's as privileged as Charles Style? A white liberal living in Princeton? Really? Chucky, what do you understand about the modern struggle of New Jersey homeowners and voters and people who actually have real jobs? Okay. And you would think that, number one, no one's going to pay for a paywall at NorthJersey.com. I mean, if you can get a free article, great, do that. But who in their right mind would pay for this garbage? And for a guy that barely works. And it was interesting. I remember running into Chucky last year at Rider University. It was a Sunday night. It was the first gubernatorial day between Mikey Sherrill and Jack Ciattarelli in a jam-packed auditorium inside of Rider University. And I remember sitting in the press area with Matt Rooney, the founder of SaveJersey.com. Right. And I remember seeing Chucky. I even put a video. Like, I even took the video. I put it on my Instagram story. And I remember seeing Chucky from a little bit of a distance and be like, oh, what are you doing here? It's Sunday. Like, you're working? Yes, a milagro, because you don't know Chucky's a lazy bastard. Okay? Like, this fucking guy, if he publishes, I don't know, twice a month, that's a lot for this guy. Okay? Like, Charles Style is lazy. His opinions have gotten lazy. So much so that you would think that he actually have some good takes. But the latest abomination of journalism coming out of Chucky was a recent op-ed here where you would think he would know how to title something. Right? And as you can see there, obviously, will Hamway's ties to a terror suspect slow his NJ12 run? Now, let me be very clear here about what we're doing here when it comes to talking about the one of the candidates running for the Democrat Party in the 12th congressional district, right? And what's interesting here, right? And here's, I mean, one thing here that I can just tell you that is, I mean, alarming, because you would think that Chucky would have enough presence of mind to be like, instead of saying, well, Hamway's ties, no, Hamway's ties should slow his New Jersey 12 run because of his association with a known terrorist. And he's never denounced him. He's never distanced himself from him. He's never repudiated it. No, he's fine. He's there. But you would think that Chucky would want to try to hold Hamway accountable. Well, let's go here a little bit. Let me just give you some information here about the candidate here, Dr. Adam Hamway, right? I think Hamway, right? Now, again, he's a distinguished doctor. He's an American plastic surgeon, former combat surgeon. So again, I applaud his service. In no way do I want to take anything away from Dr. Hamway. And he's one of the Democrats, again, running in the 12th congressional district. Thankfully, Bonnie Watson Coleman is not running anymore. She's retiring. I mean, that's one less useless member of the House of Representatives in Washington, right? And it's a pretty crowded field there. You have like perpetual activists and people with no real jobs, like, Sue Altman running in there. But it seems like Dr. Hamway is going to be the perennial nominee coming up in the primary. Now, again, it's a very crowded field. And when we look at it, I'm just looking at my notes here. Just bear with me, folks, as I'm just looking here at the notes. But what bothers me is his ability to not denounce people like this, right? And I'll sort of just give you, I would argue, probably the single biggest reason not to vote for this guy in the upcoming Democrat primary in the 12th congressional district. Now, again, he's faced some considerable scrutiny because of his past association with Sheikh Omar Abdel Rahman. Now, if you all remember that name, he's a radical cleric who was known as the Blind Sheikh, who was convicted of seditious conspiracy in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing plot. Now, again, let's sort of go into this. Now, the ties between Dr. Hamway and the late terrorist figure include the following. For example, a Michigan trip back in the 1990s via court transcripts reveal that Dr. Hamway was an associate of Abdel Rahman and accompanied him on a 13-hour van ride to Detroit in 1991 for a conference. Also, when it comes to witness testimony, Dr. Hamway testified as a defense witness during the 1990s trial of Abdel Rahman. And during the testimony, Hamway acknowledged hearing the cleric make remarks about, quote, conquering the land of the infidels, but stated he felt the prosecution was taking Abdel Rahman's statements out of context. How, Dr. Hamway? Radical Islamists and jihadists believe this. We've seen the stain of Islam come into our borders. And 25 years later, you would think that the words "we will never forget" should still resonate. We haven't. Okay? New York City elected a Muslim extremist whose wife loves to like social media content victimizing Jews. We have a mayor in New York City who has no desire to keep Jewish people safe. We saw that last week. And you would think Dr. Hamway would have some empathy or awareness, right? For example, Hamway also visited Abdel Rahman's apartment after the World Trade Center bombing to translate a document for a press conference. Folks, this isn't bullshit. This is all documented information. Okay? Now, the campaign response and the scrutiny to this has been interesting from Dr. Hamway. Dr. Hamway's campaign characterizes the resurfaced reconnections as bad faith, guilt by association attacks on a Muslim and Arab candidate. No, it's not. Okay? You can't be friends with a terror suspect. You have to be able to denounce them, Dr. Hamway. And somehow, this is the perennial favorite by Democrats in the 12th congressional district here in New Jersey. That's sickening to me. Right? And again, I applaud him for his service as a 9/11 responder and a U.S. Army combat surgeon. Again, I can respect that. But you would think that at some point, Dr. Hamway would have the intellectual honesty to denounce this, to denounce his ties with Abdel Rahman. And what's interesting is when you read this editorial. Now, again, I have a friend who gives me access to the paywall because I wouldn't pay for this garbage. Imagine, folks, imagine working 40 hours a week like I do and more, paying money to subscribe to bullshit behind a paywall because Charles Styles writes for it. I mean, ¿quién vale esa basura? And I get it, folks. There's no shortage of retards in New Jersey media. Again, I talk about it all the time. Max Brazzaro, whenever he leaves his house, it actually does work. Matt Freeman. Okay. Tom Moran, Bob Hennelly, Jay Lassiter, Alan Steinberg, Jeff Van Vliet. Okay. You would think that Chucky would have a little intellectual honesty. And I get it. When you're 97 years old, like Chucky, like Charles Styles is, I get it. Maybe your brain isn't functioning the way it should. In the late stages of life, and again, I just celebrated a birthday this weekend. I hope I get to be 97 years old like Charles Styles. I hope I'll be more productive and useful and not incompetent and just downright retarded like Charles Styles. But why wouldn't Charles Styles just simply write an editorial and be honest about it and call out the bullshit? Don't just give us a historical narrative about Dr. Hamway and Abdel Rahman. Just say, you're writing an editorial, right? Well, you're an American, right, Chuck? And I get it, living in Princeton, maybe it doesn't affect you, but I live up here in Hudson County. Okay? I look at that skyline very differently than I did 25 years ago. Maybe it doesn't affect you because you're more than willing to peddle water, as they say, for jihadists and Muslim extremists. You do it all the time. Did you ever once denounce the blatant anti-Semitism that was going on at Rutgers University shortly after the October 7th attacks, or what was going on across the river at Jihadist University? That university on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, Jihadist U, Columbia, or other blatantly anti-Semitic demonstrations we saw at universities, not just across the river in New York City, at Columbia, at the New School, at Barnard, at NYU, but around the country. Even here at Rutgers, here at the State University. You would see students in tents openly being anti-Semitic, harassing Jewish students, harassing Jewish faculty. You think ever once Chucky would leave his house? And I get it. He'll leave his house like twice a year, maybe. Do you think it would occur to Chuck to even just say, hey, you're writing an editorial? Again, you can write however you want, an editorial, however you wish. But be intellectually honest, man. If you're an American, call this out. It's a bad look for Dr. Amway. It just is. Don't be like, oh, will this affect? No, it should affect him. You should write it. If I was writing an editorial, I'd be like, this should affect him. The fact that Dr. Hamway hasn't denounced this even since the death of Abdel, and good riddance to Abdel Rahman. I hope he rots. Okay? But we have seen the blatant anti-Semitism that is really resonating within the Democrat Party, where it's cool to coddle jihadists and accept Islamists as the norm. No, folks, I have no desire to accept any of that stuff. I haven't forgotten 25 years later. Seems like Chucky has. You should be more emphatic about that, Chuck, instead of writing bullshit editorials like this. And worse is to put it behind a paywall that no one's going to pay for. I can't imagine. Folks, I would rather pay for, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that's just completely useless as Charles Style, and pay whatever the amount is monthly for NorthJersey.com. But folks, there's so many better things you can spend your money on. Who would want to spend money on the paywall of NorthJersey.com when you have a guy like this, who I'm sure, again, he's 97 years old, so he has to remember the terrorist attacks, not just from 9/11, but also back in 1993. So back when Chucky was in his 60s and then he was in his 70s, 20-something years ago, right? You would think that this would resonate more, but no, folks, how quickly we have forgotten. And leading the way with how quickly we've forgotten is a propagandist masquerading as a journalist, and that's Chucky. It's pretty disappointing, folks. It shouldn't shock you. Because when you think about Chucky and Charles Style, well, there's no other better way to explain the phenomenon that is Charles Style.
No. You're still a loser. Still a loser. You're a Mets fan.
Say it with me, Michael. Clown show. Clown show. Clown show. Clown show. Clown show. Clown. It's a clown show.
I mean, folks, that's what it is. It's the clown show. Here in New Jersey media, or what's left of it. When it comes to atrocious takes and garbage journalism, again, you can always rely from 97-year-old Charles Style. And those are my final thoughts. Folks, before we call it a night here on the program, special comment time. I want to thank everybody that came out this past weekend to celebrate my birthday, another year of life, and I'm grateful. I've lost family members. I've lost friends since COVID for different reasons. Natural causes, mental health, substance abuse, COVID, you name it. Just grateful to be alive for another year and to continue being productive and to continue bringing you fearless, independent journalism. So I want to thank everybody that came out this past weekend to my birthday celebrations. Of course, folks, as you know, I mean, it's a good-looking crowd with Fernando Uribe. It's as simple as that. There's no ugly people at my parties. Really? Starts with me. Ain't nobody ugly here at my age. So thankfully, I'll continue staying pretty for all of you at home. But shout out to all the great guests this past weekend. This lovely woman here, Maggie, as well as all of my good friends, the Horsemen, the Hudson County version of the Four Horsemen. If you're a pro wrestling fan, obviously shout out to my boy, the Dean, Dante Lupo, and of course, the walking weapon, John Highness. We got a new member of the Pinnacle here, obviously, Mr. Ray Rodriguez there, my jiu-jitsu instructor. Love him. We're still deliberating on a nickname for Mr. Rodriguez, so stay tuned to that. And of course, I appreciate you guys coming out and celebrating my birthday with me throughout the weekend. Obviously, as I said before, great guests coming out all weekend. We got my bestie, Sandra. All the good-looking ladies, folks, come to my parties. That's just the truth. That's not speculation. That's not hearsay. That is fact. Shout out to all the great-looking ladies at the Union City Board of Education and friends all throughout Hudson and Bergen counties collectively. I appreciate you coming out here to not just the In View Hotel in Weehawken, the Highwood, but also at Pier 13. Shout out to everybody there, all the lovely ladies there. As you see there, the walking weapon, John Highness. Okay. The strategist, my cousin Danny Uribe. All the lovely ladies there, Nora and Mercy and Ruth and everybody there coming out for the festivities. Ray Rodriguez. But also, too, and I got to give a shout out to her because she doesn't come out too often. Not the most social person around, but let me tell you something. Shout out to Brittany Bunny, my good friend in Jersey City, for coming out. She doesn't make her way out of her house too often, folks, but she did for the birthday boy. And I'm extremely grateful to Brittany Bunny. And I was excited because you know what? Guess who's in the house, folks? It's Bunny Mania. That's right, Brittany Bunny. Making an appearance at my birthday festivities. Thank you, Brittany. And thank you to everybody that came out this past weekend to celebrate another year of life for your favorite journalist, Fernando Uribe. And when you look at that logo there, what you gonna do when, guess what? You don't have birthday parties like I do. Folks, that's my special comment. Thanks to everybody once again for celebrating yet another year of life with yours truly this past weekend here in 2026. And folks, a special reminder coming up this Wednesday live at Braddock's in Medford, New Jersey. Yours truly will be hosting an in-person debate in the 3rd Congressional District, a very hotly contested primary there between Republican candidates Michael McGuire and Jason Cullen. Folks, we'll be live and in person at Braddock's, as you can see there, at 39 South Main Street in Medford, New Jersey. We'll be streaming the debate live via the Jersey First Facebook Instagram, YouTube, and all of our social media platforms. So if you have a chance to, if you're in the neighborhood down in the 3rd Congressional District in Burlington County, you know, do me a favor and make your way down there. Let's have a good, honest, amicable, peaceful debate. And I have no question the candidates will do that. We'll talk about the issues that matter most, as we will see who will challenge the incumbent, the useless Herb Conway, in the 3rd Congressional District coming up this November. It begins with debate night this Wednesday, folks, at Braddock's in Medford, New Jersey. Once again, for more information, obviously you can reach out to me on social media. And a special thank you. Because not just Real Talk and Jersey First TV sponsoring this debate, but it's also the distinguished and honorable ladies of the Burlington County Federated Republican Women. My good friend Terry, the chair there, and all the great ladies at the BCFRW will be there hosting and sponsoring this debate night coming up on Wednesday, May the 20th. It's starting at 7 p.m. sharp. And let's have a good conversation. Let's talk about who's the best candidate to challenge Herb Conway in the upcoming general election this November in New Jersey's 3rd Congressional District. And that's our show for this week, folks. Once again, to check out all the great content we bring you here on Jersey First, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and X, and of course, subscribe to us on YouTube and download us on Spotify or SoundCloud, favorite it, and you'll be automatically notified of all the great content brought to you by Jersey First TV. Of course, not just Real Talk every Monday, but of course, brand new episodes of the returning Bridging the Gap. Okay. With, again, folks, Zach and Tyler. Great guys, great young men. Bridging the Gap here. New episodes on all of our social media. Check it out here on Jersey First TV. That's our show for this week. Once again, folks, I want to thank the distinguished chair of the Union County Republican Organization, Carlos Santos, for his appearance tonight. A great conversation about what's going on in Union County and much more. Again, folks, like, comment, and share. I can't say enough. It really helps the show grow. And show your support for fearless independent media, not the little Mickey Mouse shows with the little Mickey Mouse journalists, with the Mickey Mouse traffic. No, folks. Here on this program, it's real conversations with real traffic because it's real talk. Don't accept anything from the imitators. Always go with the originator. That's right. Real talk here on Jersey First TV. Folks, once again, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's always real talk here on the Jersey First Television Network. I am the generational talent in Garden State Media, and certainly the sworn enemy of all the local social justice clowns, woke fools, and identity hysterics here in New Jersey. That's right, folks. I'm proud to stand up to them. I'll do that each and every day. That's right. It's me, Fernando Uribe. Please party responsibly, folks. Enjoy Memorial Day weekend. Let's go Knicks as the Eastern Conference Finals begin tomorrow night in Madison Square Garden. Hopefully the Knicks make it to the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999. So let's go Knicks. And I'll see you next week here, folks, on Real Talk with Fernando Uribe on Jersey First TV. Thanks for stopping by. And always remember, stay classy, everyone.